So you're thinking about running, but not sure how to take the first step. My name is Brian Patterson, and I'm here to help. Welcome to Brian's Run Pod. Welcome back to Brian's Run Pod, and I'm your host, Brian Patterson. Now, in the second part of my discussion with Jules Scudder from RunningRewire, we carry on talking about this wonderful running initiative called Run Some. And Jules talks about her approach to coaching and how she has a particular focus on women who are pre-menopause and those that are going through the menopause. There's just so much more in this jam-packed episode, and we could have talked for hours. Anyway, I really hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. And I just want to say thanks again to Jules for coming on the podcast. Because I know my wife and I, you said that as growing up, and I as someone who's grew up in the middle of London, central London, when we were, asked to go to the shops or something, we'd run to the shops, and it was just something so natural, you'd run to the shops, if you're doing an errand for your parents or something like that, you'd run or whatever. And it was just a very natural thing. I think that's a really great way of thinking about it.
Yeah, it's easier in some parts of the country, obviously. I mean, if you're living in more remote places, it might not be so convenient to run to the shop.
No.
But even sort of running to the post box to post a letter, just any short journeys, just to get you moving a little bit more. And going back to the sort of run commute idea, if you don't want to arrive at work all sweaty, take your run stuff, your running kit, and then run home, because that's where your shower is. So at least do one part of the journey as a run commute. And so just trying to encourage people just to get out and be a bit more active.
Yeah. Now, you have a community of people who you coach. What's been your kind of approach to coaching?
Very much a personal touch, I think. There are so many apps and platforms and various different ways that you can find run coaching these days. And I wanted to be a human. I wanted to be an actual person that people could come to. So when I first started, it was, I did a lot more one-to-one work with people locally. And now I do most of my coaching online. I still like to make it very personal. So if I have an inquiry from someone, I will definitely try and hop on the phone and have an actual conversation with people, which I think is very important, because, we spend so much of our time typing and messaging and not actually speaking to people.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. And that's just a nice introduction, I think. It's a nice way to, first of all, get to know the person.
Yeah.
And to just talk about what they want, which sometimes you can't put that across when you're just sending an email. So I do like to hop on the phone, definitely. And then with regards to how coaching progresses from there, it is very interactive, the way I like to work. So as I said, lots of it is online now, the way that I deliver my coaching. And I do that through a platform called Final Surge. And there are various different coaching platforms and apps you can use, but basically, I will understand what their goals are, where they're currently at, and where they need to be. Talk about their lifestyle. What do they do? What do they do for a job? What's their home situation? What support do they have? How much time do they have to dedicate to training? So all these things that you can, build a bigger picture about someone. And then I get them started, ease them in gently, obviously not throw them right in at the deep end.
Yeah.
Training is updated on a weekly basis. So I'm not a big fan of writing a training plan and handing it over. That is definitely something you can get off the internet.
Yeah.
It doesn't cater for life. It doesn't know you as a person. It doesn't cater for if you want to go on holiday and you're going to miss a couple of weeks, or, or if you fall ill and you can't do a certain session. And I think that's the trap that lots of people fall into if they are following an off-the-shelf plan that they just grabbed from the internet, for example.
Yeah.
Because it can put a lot of pressure on you. You've got it there in black and white. Oh my God, this is where I'm meant to be at this week, and I haven't been able to do it. Should I then stick at this week? Should I fast forward and go to where I'm meant to be? And it's quite stressful, I think, doing it that way. So I am very much the sort of coach that will adapt as we go along.
Right. Okay.
According to progress. So if things are going really well, then I can encourage you to be a little bit more confident, back yourself a little bit more, and try new things. But on the flip side of it, if things haven't gone well, like I said, if you've had an illness, or you need to take some time out, for example, then
had a bad week.
Yeah, it's just adapting as we go along. So very much on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, because I know with the apps, it kind of gives you these alerts. Oh, you should be running, 6 times 400 meters with a 30-second rest, and that kind of thing. And you kind of feel maybe not today. So yeah, but I like the human aspect of it.
Yes, yeah, and also I think it helps the athlete for that extra accountability, because they know that there's an actual living person checking in on them.
Yeah,
not just an app that doesn't really care whether you do the session or not. Then it really helps. It helps with motivation to get out the door if perhaps you're not quite feeling it one day. And yeah, just that accountability, because I can see whether they've completed the session or not, and they will leave me feedback after each session that I can read, and then I'll give them my feedback. And then at the end of each week, we're in touch via WhatsApp. They'll leave me their weekly feedback. I will leave weekly feedback for what they've just done, and then I'll explain the following week that's about to come.
All right. Okay. Oh, that's good. Are there any key mistakes that you see generalized, let's say for the audience, that what people do?
Going back to that sort of consistency, I see a lot more progress in performance levels if someone is just more consistent with their training and not kind of fobbing it off and making excuses. But people that are willing to put the work in will get the results. And that's not to say that there are not valid excuses for not training. Of course there are. Like we've just covered the illness or what have you. But
yeah,
some of the people that I work with, or a lot of the people I work with, which I'm sure we'll get onto later, are women going through perimenopause.
Yeah,
and there are certain barriers to training, and I understand those, but I think that the one biggest mistake is lack of consistency.
All right. So if you have someone who's really overeager, then you can sort of like rein them back. That's not too.
I mean, eager obviously is good, but yes, understanding the importance of recovery.
Yeah,
is a massive thing. If we are not taking recovery as just as an important part of training, then you're ending up in a disaster. I think you're going to risk burnout, you're going to risk injury. So seeing recovery as part of the training is crucial.
What advice would you give to someone, let's say, who is plateauing, let's say a 10Ks times 55 minutes, and I can't seem to,
can't seem to get over
it. I mean, I know it's difficult. Each individual is different. So is there any?
Absolutely. I think it's looking at that individual's past training, what they're currently doing, and getting to the bottom of why. And quite often it will be because they are doing the same things over and over again. There isn't that mix. There isn't enough variety in their training. They're not taking the slow runs slow. They're not perhaps including any longer runs to work on aerobic endurance, and then they're not mixing up the key sessions in between. So, different types of speed training, for example.
I know you talk about on the website rewiring your running mindset. I know mental health has been quite a big thing, but can you sort of expand on that? What?
Yeah, so I think it's rewiring sort of your approach to running, and this sort of ties in nicely with, for example, someone that is plateauing and has been doing the same thing time and time again and wondering why they're not progressing any. And it's just, being open-minded to try new things, to try a different approach to training that you might not have done before, to look at the bigger picture, to look at lifestyle, nutrition, how are you thinking about your runs? Are you looking for positives, even if a run hasn't particularly gone well? Because there's always something to learn from our runs. And, each and every run is part of a learning journey. They're not all going to be brilliant. You're not going to go and absolutely smash every race. You're not going to have a brilliant run every time you go out and train. And it's learning from that and discovering why things might not have got a certain way, but also acceptance that they don't always have to go brilliantly. Things are not always, this is life.
Yes.
It's not linear.
Yeah.
So it's being able to, just look at running in a wider perspective, and not just, this is what I want to do, therefore I'm going to run 4 times a week and ignore everything else around it.
Yeah.
So, going back to the strength and conditioning, including that and the reason behind it, and just understanding where each piece of the puzzle fits.
Do you think sort of less is sometimes more, maybe, or even trying alternative exercises, yoga, or Pilates, that kind of thing, and then maybe just, holding back on the running?
Yeah, I think especially for athletes that are getting older, for sure, which again is largely the sort of demographic that I work with are women of perimenopausal age, but I also work with male athletes as well that are sort of not as young as they used to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely incorporating cross training. Running is a hugely high impact sport, as we know, and our bodies, they can't keep taking the hit.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of forces going through
a lot of forces going through your lower limb, for sure. So yeah, incorporating cross training is something that I actively recommend. Me personally, at the moment, I only run 3 times a week. I do two sessions of cross training on the bike, do 2 strength and conditioning sessions, and I do Pilates. So that's what goes into my week. And then obviously with days for rest and recovery. So sometimes I will double up of activities. But that's just what I found works for me. So again, it's looking at the athlete as an individual, and finding what is going to work for that person. It can be a little bit of trial and error. You're not going to know straight away as soon as you work with someone that that's what you have to do. This is how you're going to get to your goal. This is how you're going to stop injuries. It's a journey. It's a learning process, and it's often not a quick one. It's not a quick fix. But the more open and honest that my athletes are with me about how they're feeling, how the body's feeling, what their energy levels are like, how a run's gone, what's going on in that week, where their mind's at, it all really helps to then really tailor their training specifically for what's going on.
And do you think because I could see someone like yourself, being a coach, especially if someone is injured, who is having to take time out of running, and it's affecting them sort of mental health. They can sort of feel, it's something I really enjoy. I do, I don't know, loads of marathons and that kind of thing. But you feel that, you being their coach, you're you're there to be like kind of like a sounding board.
Yeah. And well, first of all, I think it's important to understand that we are all at risk of injury at some point. Like I said, it's a high impact sport. It's very unlikely that you're going to go through your running journey with no injury whatsoever. So there will be times when you have to take a break. I personally have been there many times. But, in my older years and going through perimenopause myself, a couple of years ago was diagnosed with osteopenia, which is low bone density.
All right.
Which significantly increases my risk of stress fracture. And I've had 3 of them to date. So I'm fully aware of how that could mess with the mind when you can't run. And it is hard. It is hard. It is something that at that moment, I'm so glad I have a running coach.
Yeah.
Because even though you can't run, a coach can help you through that time. They can set you cross-training sessions. They can really sort of allow you to sort of flip your thinking around and focus on what you can do and not what you can't, which I think is very important. It's really easy to just stare out the window and feel really deflated and depressed and see all the runners go past and just want to cry because you can't do it. Yeah. And it's really, like I said, really sort of thinking of the positives.
Yeah.
What can I do to keep me physically in the game and mentally in the game, so that when you do get back to running, you can get back to it quicker than if you just sat around doing nothing, feeling sorry for yourself.
And also you're talking to someone who is interested or in the sport you love doing. So
yeah,
and that's great,
Yeah.
So,
and I think with the cross training and having that side of things to follow, focusing on your strength a little bit more, so that when you come back, you're feeling stronger and ready to, there's that old saying, come back stronger, which you can do. If you have to take some time off running, put your focus into something else, so that when you do come back to running, you are you're in a good shape to continue and still achieve your goals. It's not game over when you get injured. It's just a little bit of a setback, and it's managing that setback as best you can, which I think helps when you've got, for example, a coach in your corner. You've got someone to still remain accountable to, and you just got someone backing you.
You've touched on this before, but I mean, in terms of coaching women, pre-menopausal or menopausal, how do their needs change, and how do you approach coaching them?
Yeah, so obviously there are loads of symptoms that women can get in perimenopause. I won't reel them all off because we could be here quite a while. But one of the main things, I think, is a lack of confidence often. So women quite often have spent many, many years looking after everyone else and not really focusing on themselves, and can quite often feel like it's a little bit selfish to do so, firstly. But if they do want to then focus on themselves, it's, oh my goodness, well, how do I do that? I can't, I can't do this. And it's building that confidence. It's allowing them to take that time to realize that it's all right to do something for yourself. You have spent many, many years working, looking after children, caring for older relatives, numerous amounts of things. And it's good to take back some time for you. So working with them to build their confidence is really important for me. Also, we can suffer with some anxiety when we hit perimenopause.
Yeah.
And that may sort of, pop up in all sorts of different shapes or forms. But some people literally do feel anxious putting their trainers on and getting out the door.
Yes.
So it's empathizing, it's listening, it's providing that safe space for them to feel supported and to feel to feel that they are worthy of doing what they want to do. And yeah, just having that support network around you. And, even though I do coach all of my runners online, we do have that online community as well. So, we have a Facebook group and a WhatsApp group, and everyone is really supportive of each other. So it's lovely.
Because I think I've seen, a YouTube video of there's a group of you running together, a group of women running together. Is that, I think you do have groups.
Yes. I don't know what video you've seen, but
oh, right.
It's not uncommon for me to run with a group of people.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm just thinking that running with others helps a lot.
Yes,
it's not just a solitary sport,
it's not, but that sort of links to the anxiety. Some people are quite anxious about running with others because they might feel like people are judging them. Just
yes, yeah, I understand.
But there's different sides of it, and it's like I say, it's just providing a safe space and a listening ear, and being there to support them however they are feeling. Other things in perimenopause, physical barriers to running. So this week, funnily enough, is World Continence Week. I don't know.
Oh, right. Okay.
And incontinence is something that is quite common in women. It can obviously be a fact of, when you've given birth to a child, but as we get older, it's because of our decreasing amount of estrogen, and that's
okay.
Our muscles lose mass. So your pelvic floor is a muscle, and that's losing its elasticity, and it's losing its function as well. So that can have a huge impact. Obviously, if you're out running, then the force of the running on your pelvic floor. Sorry to get into this, Brian.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Too much information.
That's fine.
So yeah, it's understanding that can happen. That can be a physical barrier to why women wouldn't want to be going out running.
Yeah,
might be sort of getting put off as they get older. Also, some women can experience random aches and pains that they never used to, that they have no answer for. Which as well can have an impact. So there are so many things that happen to our bodies as we age, as our estrogen levels, decrease.
But getting those endorphins going can help.
Yes, yeah, and it does make you feel better when you go out, for sure. But like I said, some people struggle to get out the door.
Yeah.
And as well, as our estrogen levels are dropping, this is going a little bit down the scientific route here. So,
right, no problem.
So our estrogen normally is produced by a woman's ovaries, and that stops happening, and then it becomes the job of our adrenal gland that produces more estrogen for us. And it doesn't do as good a job as the ovaries did.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the adrenal gland is also what produces our stress hormones, so cortisol and adrenaline. And you often find that women of perimenopausal age, they do have a lot of stress in their lives. There's a lot going on. Like I said, they've got children, they've got work, they're juggling, they're spinning plates left, right, and centre. So their stress levels tend to be quite high. And when your stress levels are high and your adrenal glands are producing the stress hormones, that means that it's producing less estrogen. And that is what we need more of as we get older.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a vicious circle, really. So we need to try and reduce the stress to allow the body to produce as much estrogen as it can do. And that's where I think having someone in your corner, having a training plan, having a little bit of routine can help just normalize things, make things a little less stressful, that you're not having to worry about so much on your own.
And just generally being active can help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you give much advice on the sort of the nutritional side, or you do just sort of kind of guide?
Yeah, I mean, not as a rule. I mean, I'm not a qualified nutritionist at all. I can give general nutrition advice, and if any of my athletes want that, then I'm happy to help. But it's not it's not something I'm specialised in qualification-wise.
You do. I mean, it's not really a big factor. Well, unless you're going kind of elite level.
I will obviously give them basic nutrition advice and definitely centered around race training and race days and things like that. But on a broader spectrum, then no, I would definitely point them in the direction of someone that was more qualified than me.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, it's coming to the end of our podcast, but thank you, Jules, so much for coming onto the podcast. Are there any links at social media or website you'd like to sort of tell us about and promote?
No, my website is RunningRewire.com. And that's my Instagram handle as well, RunningRewire. So, give me a follow. And it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you. Thank you so much for having me.
But you've been a fountain of, jewels of information. Forgive the pun. So that just came to the top of my head. And thank you very, very much for coming on the podcast. Thanks very much.
Having me. It's been great.
And that's a wrap for another exhilarating episode of Brian's Run Pod. Thanks for tuning in, folks. As always, we've got your back with all things running. And next week, get ready for some awesome beginner hints and tips to kickstart your running journey. Oh, and before we sign off, exciting news. We're now available on YouTube. So whether you're pounding the pavement or chilling at home, you can catch us there too. Plus, we have a new feature on the podcast. You can now send me a message. Yep, you heard it right. Brian's Run Pod has become interactive with the audience. If you look at the top of the episode description, tap on send us a text message. You can tell me what you think of the episode or alternatively, what you would like covered. If you're lucky, I might even read them out on the podcast. Hey, if you want to keep up with the latest updates, behind the scenes fun, and even some exclusive content, make sure to follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter, or should I say X, at Brian's Run Pod. We've also just launched a shiny new Facebook page. Simply search for Brian's Run Pod and give us a like. And don't forget to hop on over to Instagram where you can catch all our visual adventures at Brian's Run Pod. For those of you who love diving deep into the episodes, head over to our website, www.briansrunpod.co.uk. And there you'll find detailed show notes, handy chapter markers, make it too easy to navigate through our favourite discussions. Please leave a review as it will always help others find this podcast. Music is by Happy Days by Stock Audio, not forgetting artwork by Alice Patterson. Till next week, thanks again for listening.